A man was sitting backstage, in his dressing room, alone, door locked, lights dim, silence. On the table was a glass, brown liquid inside, Jack Daniels. He took a sip, closed his eyes, and waited. Outside, thousands of people, screaming, applause, anticipation. The biggest show in Las Vegas, sold out, every seat filled. They came to see him, the legend, the voice. But he, there in that room, sat in silence. He looked at his hands. They were shaking slightly, not from fear, not from nerves, from anticipation, from memory, from 40 years of doing this exact same thing. Every show, every performance, every single time. He did the same ritual. People thought it was superstition, but it wasn't. It was something deeper, something more important. He took another sip, felt the burn, the warmth, and remembered. People would ask, "Frank, why do you do the same ritual every time? You're the greatest singer in the world. You don't need it." He'd smile. "Because it reminds me who I am, where I came from, and why I'm here." That man was Frank Sinatra, the voice, old blue eyes, chairman of the board. And that ritual tells you everything you need to know about him. Hoboken, New Jersey. A tiny apartment, 4 floors up. No elevator. Frank was born there. December 12, 1915. 13.5 pounds. His mother, Dolly, nearly died giving birth to him. The doctors had to use forceps. It scarred his face, his ear, his neck. Those scars would stay with him forever. He was the child of a poor Italian family. His father, Marty, was a firefighter. Quiet, hardworking. Dolly was different. Strong, loud, opinionated. She ran the neighborhood. Everyone knew Dolly Sinatra, and everyone knew her son.
Frank was weak as a child. Sickly, small. Other kids would make fun of him. His scars, his size, his clothes. They'd call him names, push him around. Frank would come home crying. "Don't you listen to them," she'd say. "You're special. You hear me? You're going to be somebody someday. You're going to show them all." Frank believed her because his mother said so, and his mother was never wrong.
He discovered music very early. There was a radio in their apartment, an old one, barely worked, but Frank would sit there for hours, listening. Bing Crosby, Billie Holiday, those smooth voices, those emotional songs, the way they could make you feel something. Frank wanted to be like that too. "Dolly, if this is what you want, then you work for it. You practice, and you never give up." He started singing. 14 years old, local clubs, church events, anywhere that would let him. A microphone, a small stage, and a huge dream. "Dolly, that's my son. You remember his name? Frank Sinatra. He's going to be a star." "Kids, your son? A star? He's a nobody." Frank was 19 when he got his first real gig. A local radio show, $20 a week. It wasn't much, but it was everything. He sang, people listened, and slowly, very slowly, things started to change. Harry James heard him, a band leader. He was forming an orchestra, needed a male vocalist. "Kid," he said to Frank, "you got something. I don't know what it is, but you got it. You want to join?" Frank almost cried. "Yes," he said. "Yes, sir. Thank you." His mother threw a party. The whole neighborhood came. "My son," she announced. "He's going professional. He's going to make it." Frank looked at her, smiled, but inside he was terrified. What if he wasn't good enough? What if he failed? Dolly pulled him aside. "Francis," she said. She only called him that when it was serious. "Listen to me. You're going to be scared. Every time you go on stage, every time you sing. That's normal. But you remember something. You're a Sinatra. We don't quit. We don't give up. You go out there and you give them everything you got. You understand?" Frank nodded. "I understand, Ma." And he did. The Harry James Orchestra toured. Small venues, dance halls. It was hard work. Long hours. But Frank loved it. He was singing. Really singing. And people were starting to notice. Then Tommy Dorsey made an offer. Bigger band, better pay, more exposure. Frank took it. The Tommy Dorsey Orchestra became one of the biggest bands in America, and Frank was the lead singer.
That's when it happened. The screaming, the fainting, the bobby soxers. Teenage girls who would lose their minds when Frank sang. They called it Sinatra mania. Frank couldn't believe it. Me? He'd say. They're screaming for me? But with success came something else. Pressure. Expectations. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Record labels, movie studios, radio shows, managers, agents. Everyone had plans for Frank Sinatra, except Frank himself. He started drinking. Not much at first, just a little. To calm the nerves, to take the edge off. But it got worse. Parties, late nights, fights. He was losing control, and he knew it. One night in 1947, it all came crashing down. He was supposed to perform at the Paramount Theater in New York. Sold-out show. Thousands of people. But Frank couldn't do it. He sat in his dressing room, shaking, sweating, panicking. "I can't," he whispered. "I can't go out there." His manager tried to help. "Frank, you have to. They're waiting for you." But Frank couldn't move. For the first time in his career, he missed a show.
He went home, called his mother. It was late, past midnight, but Dolly answered. She always answered. "Ma," Frank said. His voice was breaking. "I can't do this anymore, I'm done." Silence on the other end. Then Dolly spoke. Not gentle, not soft, hard, direct, the way she always spoke when Frank needed to hear the truth. "Frank Sinatra," she said. "You listen to me. I didn't raise a quitter. I didn't raise a coward. You're scared? Good. That means you care, but you don't run. You face it. You're a singer. That's who you are. But it's also just a job. You're a son, a human being. And if you can't do it today, you can't. But tomorrow, you try again. You hear me? Tomorrow, you try again." Frank cried, really cried. "I'm sorry, Ma." Dolly's voice softened. "Just a little. I know you are. Now you get some sleep. And tomorrow we figure this out." The next morning, Frank woke up, made a decision. He needed structure, discipline, a way to prepare, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. He created a ritual, simple, private, something just for him. Before every performance, he would do the same thing. Go to his dressing room, lock the door, pour a glass of Jack Daniels, not to get drunk, just one glass, to settle, to focus. And he would sit, in silence, for exactly 15 minutes. He would think about his mother, about Hoboken, about that little sick boy who wanted to sing, about where he came from, and why he was doing this. Those 15 minutes became sacred, non-negotiable. No one could disturb him, not his manager, not his friends, not even his wives. That time was his, to remember, to prepare, to be himself. The ritual worked. Frank went back on stage, stronger, more focused, more present. He wasn't just performing anymore. He was connecting with the audience, with the music, with himself. Years passed. Frank's career exploded. Movies, albums, awards. He won an Oscar, multiple Grammys. He became one of the most famous people in the world. But before every performance, he did the ritual. Dressing room, Jack Daniels. 15 minutes of silence. People noticed. Journalists would ask about it. "Mr. Sinatra, what do you do in that dressing room? Is it good luck?" Frank would smile. Something like that. He never explained. Not fully, because it wasn't about luck. It was about remembering. Las Vegas became his second home. The 1960s. The Rat Pack era. Frank, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, Peter Lawford. They owned Vegas. Every show was packed, every performance legendary. But even then, even with his best friends, Frank kept the ritual. Dean would knock on the door. "Frank, it's showtime. You ready?" Frank would open the door. 15 minutes later, exactly. "I'm ready." Dean never asked what he did in there. He knew. Some things are private. One night, a young singer approached Frank. Nervous, shy. "Mr. Sinatra, I'm performing tonight, opening act, and I'm terrified. How do you do it? How do you go out there every night and make it look so easy? You want to know the secret?" There is no secret. You're going to be scared. Every time. For the rest of your life. But here's what you do. You find something that grounds you. Something that reminds you who you are. For me, it's 15 minutes alone. Thinking about my mother. Thinking about home. That's my ritual. You find yours. Dolly got older. Sicker. She had heart problems. Couldn't travel anymore. Couldn't come to the shows. Frank would call her after every performance. "Ma, I did the ritual. Just like always. You were there with me." Dolly would smile, even through the pain. "I'm always there, Francis. Always." January 6, 1977. Dolly Sinatra died. She was 82 years old. Frank was devastated. His anchor, his strength, his biggest fan, gone.
The funeral was in Palm Springs. Frank couldn't speak, couldn't sing, just stood there, silent. People wondered if he'd ever perform again. How could he, without his mother? But that night, Frank had a show. Las Vegas, the Caesars Palace showroom, sold out. His team asked if he wanted to cancel. "Mr. Sinatra, no one would blame you. We can reschedule." Frank shook his head. "No, we do the show." He went to his dressing room, locked the door, poured the Jack Daniels, and sat down. For 15 minutes, he cried, really cried, thought about his mother, everything she'd done for him, everything she'd taught him. "I miss you, Ma," he whispered. "I don't know if I can do this without you." Then, through the tears, he heard her voice, in his head, in his heart. "Francis, you don't do it without me. I'm always with you. Now you get out there, and you make me proud." Frank wiped his eyes, finished his drink, opened the door. His team was waiting, worried. But when they saw his face, they knew. He was ready. He walked on stage. The audience went silent. They knew about Dolly, about the funeral. They were prepared to support him, to understand if he broke down. Frank picked up the microphone, looked out at the crowd, and smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one. "Tonight," he said, "this show is for my mother, Dolly Sinatra. She believed in me before anyone else did, and because of her I'm standing here. So this is for you, Ma." "My way," sung. His voice cracked, tears fell. He sang every word, every note, for her. "Ma, this is for you," he whispered. Years passed. Frank grew older. His voice weakened. Not much, but enough to notice. His hair turned completely white. His hands weren't as steady. But before every performance, he still did the ritual. Dressing room. Jack Daniels. 15 minutes. His children asked him about it once. "Dad, why do you still do that? After all these years?" Frank smiled. "Because it keeps me honest, keeps me humble, reminds me that I'm not just Frank Sinatra, the voice. I'm Francis, a kid from Hoboken, a son, and that's who I want to be when I go on stage." His last performance was 1995, the Marriott Desert Springs Resort, Palm Desert, California. Frank was almost 80 years old. His memory was fading, his health declining, his team was worried. "Frank, maybe it's time to stop, to rest." But Frank refused. "I'm a singer," he said. "That's what I do, until I can't anymore." So they scheduled one more show, one last time. "Ma," he said out loud, "I think this might be the last one. I don't know if I have another one in me." "Then you make it count, Francis. You give them everything, one last time." "Thank you, for everything, for all these years. You've been wonderful to me, and I hope I've been worth it." The audience erupted, standing ovation, tears, love. Frank stood there, taking it in, one last time. Then he waved and walked off stage. He went back to his dressing room, sat down, looked at the empty glass, and smiled. "We did it, Ma. We really did it."
Frank Sinatra died on May 14, 1998. He was 82 years old. Heart attack. Quick. Painless. The world mourned. Presidents spoke about him. Millions remembered him. The greatest singer of all time. But those who really knew him? They remembered something else. The dressing room. The locked door. the Jack Daniels, the 15 minutes of silence, because that ritual, that was Frank, not the celebrity, the human being. Today, when people talk about Frank Sinatra, they talk about the music. My Way, New York, New York, Strangers in the Night, all the hits, all the legends, and they should, because the music was incredible. But if you really want to understand Frank Sinatra, you need to understand that ritual. Those 15 minutes before every show, when he wasn't the voice, when he was just Francis, a son, thinking about his mother, remembering where he came from, because that's what made him great. Not just the talent, not just the voice, but the fact that he never forgot who he was, where he came from, and why he was doing it. When you're over 50, you understand this. You've lived long enough to know. Success doesn't mean anything if you lose yourself in the process. The strongest people aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who remember, who have rituals, who have anchors. Maybe you have one too. Your morning coffee, your evening walk, that quiet moment before you start your day. Whatever it is, that ritual keeps you grounded, keeps you real, keeps you human. Frank knew that, and he never let go of it. From his first performance to his last. 40 years. Thousands of shows. Always the same ritual. Because the best things in life aren't complicated. They're simple. They're consistent. They're honest. A dressing room, a glass of whiskey, and 15 minutes to remember who you are. That was Frank Sinatra. Not just the voice, a son, a human being, a man who never forgot where he came from. For stories only you can understand, don't forget to follow.